They call it Merangin, but the world still does not understand what that name truly carries. Hidden deep within the heart of Jambi, surrounded by ancient rivers, untouched rainforests, towering mountains, and the echoes of forgotten kingdoms, Kabupaten Merangin is not simply a regency on the map of Indonesia. It is one of the oldest living witnesses to the birth, struggle, division, and survival of an entire region. Long before modern roads crossed the jungles of Sumatra, before the sound of engines replaced the songs of rivers, the name Merangin was already alive in history. Since 1946, just after Indonesia declared independence, Merangin stood as one of the two great regencies of the old Jambi Residency, alongside Batanghari. At a time when the young Republic of Indonesia was still fighting to survive, this land was already carrying the burden of administration, resistance, and identity in the upper reaches of Jambi. But Merangin's story was never simple. In the past, this vast territory was known as Kabupaten Sarolangun Bangko, or simply Sako. Officially established under Law No. 7 of 1965, with Bangko as its capital. Back then, the region stretched across enormous parts of Jambi's interior. The forests were deeper, the rivers were wilder, and the territory itself was so massive that it would later give birth to several modern regencies, including Jambi's Kabupaten Bungo, Kabupaten Sarolangun, and Kabupaten Tebo. This was not just a district. It was the backbone of inland Jambi. There was even a time when the capital was moved from Bangko to Muara Bungo during periods of political and administrative turbulence. But history always has a way of returning to its roots. After years of uncertainty and regional dynamics, the centre of government finally returned home to Bangko, where it remains today as the beating heart of Merangin. Then came one of the most defining moments in its history. In 1999, under Law No. 54, the Great Sako region was officially divided into two regencies, Merangin and Sarolangun. Many regions would have lost their identity after such a separation, but not Merangin. Instead of disappearing, it rose stronger. The name Merangin was officially reborn, carrying centuries of memory, sacrifice, and pride into a new era. And despite the administrative split, the official anniversary of Kabupaten Merangin remains August 5th, 1965. Because history here is not erased by borders, it is carried by the people. But the true soul of Merangin is not only found in laws, governments, or political change, it is found in resilience. This land once lived through the turbulence of the PRRI conflict that shook Sumatra during the post-independence era. It endured uncertainty, division, and struggle while many parts of Indonesia were still searching for stability. Yet Merangin survived. Generation after generation continued building, protecting, and preserving this region until it transformed into a modern regency without abandoning the spirit of its ancestors. And among the many leaders who shaped this journey, one name remains deeply remembered. In 1949, H. Muhammad Kamil became one of the earliest major figures to lead the region as its first regent, laying foundations during one of the most fragile periods in Indonesian history. From those early years until today, Merangin has continued evolving while carrying the legacy of those who came before. But perhaps the greatest treasure of Merangin is something even older than human civilization itself. Deep within this extraordinary land lies the world-famous Merangin Geopark, an international geological heritage site holding ancient plant fossils that are hundreds of millions of years old. These fossils are so rare that they cannot be found anywhere else in Jambi province. They are silent evidence that long before cities, kingdoms, or even humanity existed, life had already left its mark upon the stones of Merangin. Imagine that, a land where prehistoric fossils rest beneath forests that still breathe with ancient energy. A place where rivers once carried the stories of warriors, traders, and survivors through the mountains of Sumatra. A region born from conflict, reshaped by division, yet still standing with dignity and pride. Merangin is not just history. It is proof that greatness does not always rise from famous capitals or crowded cities. Sometimes greatness grows quietly in the highlands, hidden between rivers and forests, carried by people who refuse to forget who they are. Today, Merangin continues moving forward as a growing regency filled with culture, natural beauty, and historical significance. Yet no matter how modern the future becomes, the spirit of Merangin remains untouched. Because this is more than a name. This is the story of one of Jambi's oldest guardians, a land of endurance, a land of memory, a land where history still breathes.